Call meeting to order. Worthington City Council regular meeting, 5:30 p.m. Monday, August 10th, 2026. City Hall Council Chambers. If I could have everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. We don't have any changes or additions to the agenda.
Close it and
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. On to the consent agenda. We've got City Council minutes, Special Joint City Council Independent School District 518 Board of Directors meeting minutes of July 28th, 2026. Regular City Council meeting minutes of July 27th, 2026. Special City Council meeting minutes of July 22nd, 2026. Minutes of boards and commissions. The LEC Joint Powers meeting minutes of May 13th, 2026. We've got case items, application for a parade permit to block streets, King Turkey Days Incorporated. Application for temporary on sale liquor license, King Turkey Day Incorporated. Application to block streets for Nobles County Library and bills payable. Motion and seconded to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. On to Public Works. Phone discussion, Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A request has been submitted for the City Public Works to install a wind phone in the city of Worthington Park. The wind phone is a non-functioning telephone placed in a peaceful outdoor setting where individuals may privately speak to deceased loved ones or express thoughts they are unable to share elsewhere. Wind phones have been installed in parks and public spaces throughout the United States as quiet places for reflection, healing, and remembrance. The proposed location for this wind phone is on the peninsula of Sunset Bay. The City of Worthington Park and Recreation Advisory Board has reviewed and approved the installation of the proposed wind phone, and council action is requested. We have Mrs. Hofer. She's the one that brought this forward to the park board. She's a local mental health professional, and she's going to give you a little bit more information, give you what her vision is of it, and some of the important things that these are used for. So, Margaret.
Passed this around what I'm reading from. I'll try to summarize a bit of it. So who am I? My name is Charlotte Hines Hofer. I've been a licensed mental health counselor for almost 13 years. I've lived in Worthington for the last 9 years. I attended SDSU and St. Cloud State. I opened up my private practice, Woven Counseling, after working in community mental health for over 10 years. So I'm familiar with mental health concerns in rural areas, as well as personally living in the rural Midwest and extremely diverse areas. So in addition to the variety of mental health concerns unique to communities like ours that we encounter, I'm sorry, I'll type this up really quick. I use to type this. So I'm familiar with diverse communities and the mental health concerns like ours encounter. I'm here to talk about the wind phone idea that I have. And you might be wondering, what is a wind phone, right? We don't talk about this every day. There's lots of cell phones, not so many landlines now, but right now there are 440 wind phones in the United States and 131 in Canada and 59 internationally. I passed out some printed out examples of wind phones too. Maybe one by one they're trickling over or something. So there's some examples from like Alabama, Colorado. So I believe that Mr. Robinson has them. So just pass them around when you can. So a wind phone is connected to nowhere and everywhere all at once. It's for those that are grieving and they can connect with their loved ones who died, letting their words be carried through the wind. And they're profoundly powerful. They're a source of comfort, hope, and support. It's purposefully disconnected. It's symbolic to help individuals grieve and give their message to the wind to be carried to their loved ones who are no longer physically present. So in this italicized excerpt is from the original WindPhone website. So the original WindPhone was installed in Japan. It was a man, I believe he had lost his brother. It was in 2011 after the tsunami from the power plant was affected. In Japan there was a lot of loss of life, and this man had been impacted by it. He put out his disconnected landline to try to carry a message to his mother that had been lost. And other people started showing up too, to have their loved ones receive messages. So it became very powerful. It's still in place today, and still used and maintained by this man and his wife in Japan. Some people look like they might have questions. Okay. Why is this important to Worthington? So there's backside. Our town is home to thousands of individuals and families all over the world, from all over the world in the United States. Some of us are separated by thousands of miles from our loved ones and or where they are buried. So visiting these grave sites or flying back home may not be feasible due to financial reasons, time, or documentation barriers. So I know for myself, I'm even living thousands of miles away from where my dad is buried at Jacksonville National Cemetery for Veterans. I can't conveniently visit my dad's grave in Florida. So that being said, we know that grief is significant in every culture, and we have many individuals in Worthington who struggle with grief, and this has a significant ripple effect in our community. Outside of traditional talk therapy, wherein there are barriers such as health insurance, language difficulties, and stigma still surrounding using mental health services, a WindPhone in Worthington can offer a more accessible option, and perhaps will deter mental health crises involving family conflict, substance use, or other maladaptive coping skills for grief. I have a summary of what this might look like. This is kind of what I've envisioned, and I thought very long and hard about this, being an intentional resource for the community. So it would be a practical or sturdy secondhand landline, a weatherproof sturdy booth or compartment. We could think about a journal or a food bank next to it, but that's just an option because I know we want to be concerned about any kind of vandalism. This should be installed somewhere serene and quiet where one could be private with their thoughts. So we talked about the location, and that's more in nature. And the appearance shouldn't be easily confused with an emergency call box or a toy, so that lay people or individuals new to our community would be confused. And then we should have any kind of information also be in 3 different languages: English, Spanish, and Korean. And then art imagery that would be rooted in healing for grief, such as marigolds or lotus flowers, would look really nice and be culturally significant. I love marigolds myself, so. And then the closest current WindPhones, you can look for more information at the website, mywindphone.com. The closest current WindPhones are in Good Thunder, St. Peter, and Lenox, South Dakota. So it would be unique to our area to have one, and very impactful. The idea is for this to be low to no cost and low to no maintenance. I think the idea is just that anybody I walk my dog around this area too, so anybody that really cares deeply, just go check on this phone every once in a while, but the idea is to install it, leave it, maybe have it, there could be a thing where we can have it like blessed by some faiths in the community, and it's kind of treated as like sacred in our community, and people hopefully just don't touch it. leave it for the people who need it.
Mike?
Thoughts?
I really like this idea.
Oh, great.
Concern would be where it goes,
Yeah.
and then also if it's remote and not many people see it, would there be a deal with vandalism or anything like that?
Yeah.
I think, in our brief discussions in that park board, we talked about like out on that peninsula in Olson Park, kind of off the dog park where it's a little bit secluded, but yet we still mow that on a weekly basis, and we, we're out there even in the wintertime, we do the bike trails and stuff like that. So it is someplace that's a little bit more secluded, but yeah, it's not something that we're not out there at all.
Yeah, the idea is that it's private for someone to view their thoughts and their grief. But I think with maintenance and with local people to check on it, I think it's probably gonna be okay. Maybe there's somewhere with the city we can have it, like a little mentioning of it being at the park or something, and then there's a way to put it on this website, this directory too, so if there's someone local looking for a wind phone, they can use it, they can find it.
I'm just curious, I like the place, but
Yeah.
did you ever think about approaching the hospice cottage with all their property now?
Yeah,
All the buildings?
the location we're talking about is still pretty close.
They're pretty close, you know.
Yeah, if people leaving the hospice cottage would wanna to just take a quick little turn around that corner and park down by Puppy Park, they could still
Okay.
use it, yeah.
Yeah, Chris?
Is there a concern at all about, especially given one location for this type of thing, a type of
stigma being created about people who go there, even if they're not going there for the wind phone, but having the perception of this person is maybe having mental health issues and that kind of stuff being correlated with
location?
in a public park.
I don't think there's so many people that go down there to fish or like sit on that bench that's out there too to watch.
It's also an
sunset.
issue there. It's that there's a number of people that go down into that little area for fishing.
Yeah. It's,
Just reflection already because there's a bench sitting there, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think this
With that.
is stigma inducing. I think this is stigma lessening, especially with the concept of grief. Because not everybody experiencing grief needs to go to traditional talk therapy or is having a crisis in that moment. It's more about finding other options in our community to process that grief. There may be somebody who's in their 80s and they're not able to get back to El Salvador and they're really struggling with grief.
I understand
There's-
the
yeah.
wanting
a physical tool
Yeah.
to utilize to connect and to
get out.
some of that that's kept inside.
I don't know if public park is the actual
Yeah.
place where it should be.
It was discussed about, like, somebody had brought up close to a labor care, the struggle, and I was employed there for many years. The problem would be that that's definitely stigma enhancing. It's like, oh, you're just going to the parking lot of the local community mental health center. Like, that's for the mental health center clients. And there's a lot of passerbys, right? And it's not as private as it really should be. Because a lot of people, when they visit, like, let's say the grave of their loved ones, do want to be more private, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to, it's not a replacement, but it's like to get close to, like, that kind of feeling and that kind of mental environment.
Because
And we don't want to have anybody from the labor care or Southwestern Mental Health Center be put on parking lot duty to go, like, right? Because I just feel like that would really be confused with, like, a crisis zone.
Is there,
In addition to,
the scan code and explain what a win phone is?
Yeah.
or whatever, not that, like, as I saw an example, would there also be signage for, to maybe steer those people who are maybe not as, that need more assistance, mental health,
Yeah.
coping abilities, signage that would direct them to who to contact,
Yeah.
or,
Is there a state mental health number? Is it 988?
988.
Yeah.
Something small like that, because there really needs to be intentionality about messaging too, because we have so many people new to the country, we really don't want it to be confused with an emergency call box.
but if they're going there to,
To help cope.
Yeah, being in grief and in mental health crisis aren't necessarily one and the same, but
Correct. I'm not
Right.
saying that they
it
are.
could be. But
But there's certain levels and there's no evaluation about who.
We
who's
could
going
put
there to sit.
988 in every part. I would like that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
And she'll work with Scott, with the park department on getting it placed and what we get exactly in there and all that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, my second case item is a budget amendment to purchase a new Bobcat toolcat. City Works Public Works staff is requesting council's approval to do a 26 budget amendment to purchase a new Bobcat toolcat. Our 22 toolcat, which is scheduled to be replaced in the next year's budget in 2027, has some maintenance issues that need to be addressed before 27. We did some minor repair work to keep this toolcat operational for now. After having discussions with maintenance representatives of Titan Machinery, we were informed that if we overuse this, there could be more possible serious mechanical issues that could come with this extended use. It has an ERS balance at this time of $56,400. The 27 ERS replacement goal was $90,000. We were planning on adding to that balance in the 2027 budget. Staff would like to use the ERS reserves to purchase the equipment now and replenish the ERS in 27. Council action is requested to allow staff to amend the 26 budget for the purpose of purchasing this new toolcat. I will let you know that when I didn't have the quote when I wrote this and turned it in. We got the quote and it's less than our ERS reserves now. So it won't have any effect on the 26 budget and we'll actually save some money on the 27 budget.
move to approve.
Okay, motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
The last one is the park bench. The Park and Recreation Advisory Committee has received a request from an individual to place a bench along the bike trail. The request is as follows: the standifers in memory of Christopher Marvin Anthony. The application and resolution accepting the donation of the bench is included as Exhibit 1. The donation meets all the requirements as set forth in the park donation policy adopted by City Council. The Park and Recreation Advisory Board recommends the City Council accept the donation. Council action is requested to adopt a resolution accepting the donation of the park bench as presented and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign any necessary.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Public safety.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. A couple case items tonight. The first one is consideration of updated community service officer position guidelines. Worthington Police Department Community Service Officer position guidelines were reviewed and updated. Assignment details, job requirements, and other minor details were added, removed, and adjusted within the position guidelines for clarification and consistency. Two exhibits. The first one is a red line copy of the community service position, officer position guidelines, which notes the proposed changes. And exhibit 2 is a copy of the proposed updated position guidelines for community service officer. Staff recommends approval of the updated position guidelines.
Mike?
So this one and the next one, are these two separate employees that we're gonna hire?
Yeah, so they're current employees, no additional new hires.
But they're two separate employees.
They are, yes. One is specifically dedicated to community service work, and the other one is a split between community service and animal control position. So that one's a little bit different.
I'd make a motion to approve the first one.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
In here.
Yep. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Next case item is consideration of updated community service officer animal control position guidelines. Worthington Police Department community service animal control position guidelines were reviewed, updated. Assignment details, job requirements, and other minor details were added, removed, or adjusted within the position guidelines for clarification and consistency. Again, 2 exhibits. First one's a red line copy showing the proposed changes. Exhibit 2 is a copy of the proposed updated position guidelines for community service officer animal control. Staff recommends approval for the updated position guidelines.
Mike?
This one, the animal control piece of it. So is this like a 8 to 5 job, Monday through Friday? Then what happens if a citizen has a problem on Saturday or Sunday or 8 o'clock at night? Is this person on call for those?
It's not a paid on-call position. We call them if they're available. They'll come in and respond to that. Otherwise, our officers will deal with that animal complaint to the best of their ability. If it's just picking up a stray animal and taking it to the pound, they'll certainly do that. If it's something more labor intensive where they got a violent dog per se, then they'll contact the animal control, which they'll come in after hours.
Okay, because I had someone contact me, and I don't know all the details, but she was her understanding that this happened on the weekend, and she called and said, our guy's not working. So, and again, I don't know all the details, so I can't.
Yeah, we don't have the staff to do 24/7 coverage on something like that. So our current animal control officer is really good about being available, and if around, will certainly come in to help in any way that they can with those after hour duties.
He takes care of animal boarding as well too, if you've got
Yep.
animals in.
Takes care of a pound, and then also working with a local shelter out at Tracy Animal Rescue. If those animals are not claimed, working to find homes for those stray animals.
Essentially, the responsibilities and duties haven't really changed.
Not significantly, no. It's just just kind of record keep, housekeeping stuff.
With the report to.
Yep. Very minor.
Motion is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those same sign. Motion's carried.
Last case item, acceptance of program funds and a donation. The St. Mary's School generously donated $200 to the Worthington Police Department to benefit public safety programs. The contribution will be utilized as part of a future public safety equipment purchase. Council action is requested to adopt the resolution shown in Exhibit 1 accepting the $200 donation.
Motion to approve.
Motion is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
With a thank you to St. Mary's School.
Yes.
Okay, on to administration. First item are employee longevity awards. City staff was treated to an employee appreciation luncheon on Wednesday, August 5th, and the following staff will be recognized for their years of service. For 40 years, Mike Pavelko, who is works in the lab at the wastewater treatment plant, and Scott Hain, the general manager of public utilities. 35 years, Julie Jepson, who is in the records department in the police department. And for 30 years of service, Scott Rosenberg, our park superintendent. So that's for information only. Next item, approval of ISD 518 Ice Arena Project Ownership and Lease Agreement Framework. Worthington Independent School District 518 presented a proposal for ownership and lease arrangement for the proposed ice arena that would be constructed at the school district's Krelsheim Road campus. Under this proposal, the school district will own the facility and property, provide use of the existing parking areas, and be responsible for future capital maintenance. In addition, the school district will insure the building, provide facility snow removal and lawn maintenance. The city is requested to enter into a 25-year operational lease agreement to manage the daily operations, be responsible for operational expenses, schedule facility use, hire and supervise operational staff, perform daily maintenance, and coordinate programming for high school hockey, youth hockey, and public use. City will commit $10 million towards the design and construction of the new facility. Additional funding will be $5 million from ISD 518 and $1 million from the Worthington Youth Hockey Association for a total not to exceed budget of $16 million. Council action is requested to approve the ownership and lease agreement framework.
How did you decide on the 25-year?
That was requested by the school district.
Okay.
I think to outlive elderly city staff.
I mean, it's quite the lease, but.
Mike, do you have a question?
Okay. Maybe this was gone over before, but I just want to clarify. The financial commitments, when are they due? And are they, the school board makes a commitment, their commitment, what happens? A new school board comes into play. Can they override that, or how is these commitments? When are they due and how are they?
So the city's financial commitment would be a pay-as-you-go on a prorated basis. So if design fees, construction pay requests come in, the city is essentially in for 2/3 of the financial commitment. So as invoicing and billing would come in, the city would contribute 2/3 of the total amount towards that bill. So it would be that we're not committing to pay the entire amount up front. And cash would be the pay as you go over a 12 to 18 month period, and it would from start to finish. Is that, well, we have representatives of school administration here, is that's your understanding is what your expectation is?
How about the Hockey Association?
My understanding is that they're requesting that their $1 million commitment would be paid out.
Paid in 4 installments.
Huh?
Paid in 4 installments.
4 installments,
Yes.
okay.
Over what period?
From, if approved, start of this summer, ending in April of 27. Excuse me, 28, April of 28. Project is supposed to be finished in October of 28.
So it'll all be in place before it's finished. Okay. And then maybe this was covered in that meeting, but I just want to clarify again. The revenue goes to the city?
Yes.
And then I like the idea of rental rate. I think that needs to probably go up and be updated. Now I see the schools in from 3:30 to 5:30. Are they paying for ice time?
Yes, they are. And regarding ice time rates, we've talked about a couple of different ways to measure on a regular basis, adjusting that. Probably the best received option is that we would identify 5 comparable facilities and surveyed them throughout the high and low hourly ice rate and take an average of the middle three, and that would set the ice rate for that next period of time. So that we're staying comparable to like ice facilities that are, non-metro, have similar city locations, similar size, and comparable facilities.
And then clarify again, existing area, what's gonna happen with that, or what are we doing, are we still gonna be in play with it?
At this point, it would continue to operate, and we would manage it. And revenue would come to the city for that, and that would be operational with ice during winter ice hockey season, so probably about 4 months a year, and where the new arena would be constructed to be able to be capable of having ice year-round. Likely, at least to begin with, it would not be year-round, but if demand was there, then it could accommodate having ice 12 months a year if there is enough demand and enough revenue that would support being open.
Is there a guarantee of public hours on a new arena?
Well, the guarantee would be that we are doing the scheduling, and we would.
But does the schedule requested with that? What does that?
Well, we would with eventually with 2 sheets of ice. That's going to help with demand for ice time for all of the hockey groups, which would open up more free time,
as we've been told, we can't count on the second sheet of ice being there for very long. So
yes.
What does that do in the future?
Then we would be back where we are now,
okay.
Where community time would be a shared event around everything else. But I think with discussions that Todd and I have had, that we certainly would want the community to have the benefit of having use of the new facility for open skate, figure skating, broom ball, whatever activities can be dreamt up to be played on ice, but we would want the community to have the opportunity and benefit to have use of the new facility.
You envision having to hire new people to take on this?
With our current staffing levels, we have full-time staff covered. We have one seasonal operator.
With it being, we have one main person who does the ice making and the general maintenance of it, and then we have seasonal employees that work at the front desk or skate rental or whatever. With it being in 2 places, we would have to have more of those part-time seasonal kids. I should say. But full-time employees we have, and then our 7-month employee would just transfer between each break. So we would add a couple more seasonal employees because we're in 2 different places to make sure that we always want to have 2 people on staff, just for safety reasons. And if something has to be cleaned up, or you have an issue with the bathroom or whatever, you got somebody to still be there and watch the front. And so there would be a little bit of an additional part-time evening person.
So the 16 million is probably, well, there's kind of a the green scheme to think on this, but I know there's Amboni, is that in that?
No, we looked at, and I did some research on that, and it's my intention to take the one that is at the ice rink now, move it to the new rink where you're gonna have longer ice period, and then rent one or lease one for where we have, for the old arena where we only have ice for 4 months, because you'd only have to rent or lease one for 4 months. So rather than, you can't really own one for what you can lease one for or rent one for.
The cost basis, especially on a shorter season, is very affordable compared to buying new.
Is there prospect of shifting like association practice over to the what's called the old arena and so that the public can take advantage of a new arena, the new ice,
New facility instead, given that
our 10 million amounts to 400,000 a year for 25 years.
I don't know that it's right that the public should be shifted to use the old rink for public time when they've helped pay for the new arena.
It's going to be shared priorities that I wouldn't guarantee that Open Skate would be at the new arena every time, but they're going to be given the same priority as and the same opportunity to be in the new ice arena as any of the other users. I think it's a big commitment by the residents of Worthington, and they should have the benefit of the investment that the city council has committed.
We want to have every event that we can have. We want to have that new one full all the time. And then and the Hockey Association is aware that some of their practice times and some of that are games and all that stuff might have to go to the old one, especially if we have tournaments where we need more than one sheet. So they're aware that, it's going to be available for the public as much as we can get them in there.
But it's a scheduling challenge to fit everything in with all of the youth hockey teams, with the high school teams, possibly JV teams as the participation, and then also have the other users that we would like to attract to that, including the figure skating groups, and some of the fun things, broomball, curling, open skating.
So, back to the employee issue on the city side, it's my understanding that the current manager of the JVS Fieldhouse will take over the duties of the new license.
We have a manager and assistant manager at the Fieldhouse, both full-time employees. Between the two of them, we would assign staff. I wouldn't commit that the Fieldhouse manager is going to be the one that is day-to-day overseeing or supervising the ice arena, but between the two of them, it would be, both facilities would be covered.
But they have a cost to that budget, so in theory, we would lower some of the costs on the JVS Fieldhouse. Right. Spread it out over the other two.
Right.
So it would make the Fieldhouse look a little better.
Yes.
Okay.
How many months is the current ice arena operational?
What was that? Excuse me?
How many months of the year is the current ice arena?
We tried to open MEA weekend, and I believe we're open until, is it March 15th? Yeah. Okay. March, the week after. Yeah, so, around
months.
March 15th. So,
6 months?
Yeah.
You're talking revenues and being on the school board, what about the losses? Because you face a $50,000-$60,000 loss on the current one, is that correct?
Yeah, somewhere approximately.
I know Mike here brought this up at the meeting, what do you guys envision? Because I don't know if we have full school court support to take on operation losses on our end.
Oh, I wasn't asking for that, I just wanted to make sure, make clear what our full commitment was.
But if we have a loss, what in the lease states that we're gonna split that loss on the new arena? How is that worded? How are we gonna go about that venture?
We haven't seen any formal contracts or lease arrangements at this point. We have seen framework. So that would be up for discussion. And I think the school district intends to use it for school programming too, which there's a cost associated with that.
On the ice rental rate, that's adjusted about every 3 years.
Yeah, a minimum of 3 years.
And as of right now, we haven't identified the 5 ice arenas, so that'll yet to be determined.
I can give you a good idea. They're all 2 sheet communities. They're all outstate, and they're very like communities to ours, same size. And I can kind of tell you which 5 they are, but.
So that the rent will be adjusted every 3 years.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Chris?
Can you remind us where the city's portion of the 10 million is coming from?
As far as our
The 10 million that the city's,
7 million from the city, 3 million from public utilities. I don't know the source of our 7 million.
yes.
Well, it hasn't been decided because council hasn't directed it yet, but I have a number of scenarios for your consideration.
Thank you.
Right, okay, so we have a motion, seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
All right, next item is funding sources for market rate rental housing financial assistance. City entered into an agreement in January 2025 to provide financial incentives to DeRocher Brothers Construction for the 90 grand apartment development of market rate rental housing. The city agreed to provide incentives of $15,000 per apartment unit up to a maximum of 36 units to be paid upon issuance of individual building certificates of occupancy for a total of $540,000. Staff recommends contributing the city's allocation of statewide affordable housing aid, which is $152,025, with the remaining balance of $387,975,000 coming from the spending plan. The spending plan has a current balance of $1,023,991.52. Using these funds for the DeRocher development will leave a spending plan balance of $636,016.52. In accordance with the current legislation, private development eligible for spending plan funds shall commence no later than December 31st of this year. Unspent funds in this plan shall be returned to tax increment District Number 7, Darlene's 3rd edition. Council action is requested, so what we're asking is, can we use spending plan funds to pay the remaining incentives that will go to DeRocher here upcoming in the next month or two as they finish up their final 2 buildings.
Is this for the first apartment complex or the second?
It would be for all 3. Which we have made the first installment of $180,000, which we took out of funding, but we hadn't established where all of the funding would come from for the total $540,000.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Good evening, Mayor Council. My first item is a conditional use permit for 703 Oxford Street. Mission Evangelica del Espiritu Santo is seeking approval of a conditional use permit to allow for the use of the existing building at 703 Oxford Street as a church. Pursuant to Worthington City Code, Chapter 155, Appendix C, Table 5, churches and other similar public, institutional, and cultural uses are permitted by conditional use only in the B3 district, the zoning of the subject property. At its August 4th meeting, the City Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request with the following condition, and that is the property owner continues to allow use of the adjacent property at 717 Oxford Street for parking, In the event the adjacent property is sold separately, adequate parking facilities to meet city code standards shall be provided. If you follow along in your packet, you can see what they base their recommendation on. One thing I would add, they're proposing to rent this space permanently, and it's been proposed that they'll be using this building permanently. It's not going to be any simultaneous use with the event center that's planned to cease operation as it's been presented to us. So with that, should council concur with the findings of the planning commission, they may approve the requested conditional use permit by motion. Council action is requested.
So if this other building gets sold off or gets occupied and used, then they will need parking. So where would the additional parking come from?
It likely would just have to be reduced seating or reduced occupancy in the building. The way that 717 Oxford Street is set up too, you're really gonna have shared parking across these two properties probably forever, because there's almost no parking on 717 Oxford Street. And the parking lot they're paving a back crosses over that property line too, so it's gonna be very tied together for a long time.
And then, so does, what if the church someday says we're not gonna rent it anymore? Let's go back to commercial with no problem.
Yeah, that's no issues.
And then, being it's rented as a church, does the property remain taxable or not?
I believe it does.
Well, the owner is generating revenue,
Yeah.
generating income, so that keeps it as a taxable property. If it were owned by the church, that would be a different story.
Any more questions? Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
All right, next up is another conditional use permit, this one for 1700 Highway 60. Gleason Constructors and Engineers on behalf of Swift & Company, or JBS, have applied for a conditional use permit to allow for an approximately 19,000 square foot barn and CO2 stun addition to the east side of the JBS plant. The addition will provide additional hog pens and allow for the reconfiguration of the existing pens and stun area inside the building. Pursuant to City Code Chapter 155 Appendix E, heavy manufacturing is allowed by conditional use only. At its August 4th, 2026 meeting, the City Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request with the following condition. Just one, the project must be in substantial conformance with the plans shown in Exhibit 2A. Going on, you can see what the commission based their recommendation on. And should council concur with the findings of the planning commission, they may approve the requested conditional use permit by motion.
Chris, Mike?
Planning commission looked it over. My really biggest concern was maintaining a road
around the building for access for emergency purposes if need be by equipment.
They just basically are pushing the driveway back, and it still connects to the,
as you can see, it still connects to the far back and north part of the facility into the main lot there. So.
Can you get a clarification on number 2? It says the existing plant has been issued several conditional use permits over the years, but none have granted blanket approval and future expansion.
Yeah, so
What are we approving?
you're essentially approving a new conditional use permit that allows for this addition. So the last few conditional use permits that I could locate for this property had specific conditions tying them to certain site plans. So that's why we're back with another one for this one.
So every time they make an addition or change, they need to come back.
Yeah, it depends on how each conditional use permit's worded. The last few that I could find all had specific requirements to follow certain site plans, so.
if they need one for the new freezer portion of.
Yeah, and that tied that to that site plan submitted there too. Which has its pros and cons. the con is you end up requiring another conditional use permit or an amended permit for projects that aren't going to have real noticeable impact like this one. The pros are that you can require it for additions like a warehouse that might have some impact to surrounding properties.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
All right, next item. This is a proposed subdivision of 2405 Highway 60, which is currently the property of Trueshine Truck Wash. Currently, if you can envision this area, Trueshine Truck Wash, Ron's Repair, and the Circle K there, all three of those businesses are currently utilizing essentially a private access road there. You do have MnDOT right-of-way that's kind of located a lot closer to the intersection, and then of course you get out onto the state highway there. Mark here, the owner of Trueshine Truck Wash, is exploring another potential business opportunity that would involve new construction. He's looking at doing that on the Trueshine Truck Wash property, kind of on the, I'll just say the north side, just to make it simple there. And his request is to be able to subdivide it, one, so he could maybe sell it someday for tax purposes, insurance purposes, you name it. And his request is to be able to subdivide it and utilize access easements to get access all the way over to Highway 60 there. The Planning Commission was presented with a few options here, which you can see there. One was they could deny the proposed subdivision, they could approve it as presented with access easements, or they could require the property be platted and the private drive be dedicated as public right-of-way. After consideration, they voted unanimously to recommend the council approve the subdivision utilizing access easements. So with that, I'll take any questions, or if you concur with the findings of the Planning Commission, you can approve the subdivision.
Anything happened to those two, looks like two existing ponds that are there? I mean, are they still gonna be there, or is it?
So there's one pond on the very far north that's stormwater. There's one that you'll see in one of the exhibits that's marked as still in use by the truck wash, and then two have been filled in now.
Oh, they're filled in?
Yeah, they're not used anymore.
Mike, did you have something?
So we have no city right of way into that property at all.
No.
And so the state's got right of way in.
Yeah, part of it, yeah.
So the two, Ron's Repair and the gas station, those easements are already in play, right?
Yep.
We're not affecting anything there.
No, you're just considering whether you want to allow an increased use of a private drive, when typically our city code would prefer that things be, have street frontage and things. Of course, there's significant cost considerations too, to requiring it to be platted as a public road and things.
So if you get down the road and, a business with a lot of traffic gets put back in there, could that necessitate a approved road or no?
Yeah, the option to make that a public road in the future will still exist. That's always an option if it becomes necessary or needed at some point.
Where does the highway right of way, does it go up to where the red line crosses at the
yeah, that's about
driveway?
Right where it goes.
And the rest of it is private. Is that shared by all three? Well, it's shared by all three current adjoining properties, and they maintain it. Some agreement between them.
Make a motion to approve with option 2, which would be to maintain the existing access easements.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
All right, last item, this is consideration of a first reading of a proposed ordinance to regulate e-bikes, motorized bicycles, and motorized foot scooters in the city. The rise of e-bikes, motorized bicycles, and motorized foot scooters has led to increased concerns regarding safety and usage of these devices. City staff has worked with the city attorney to develop a proposed ordinance that would regulate e-bikes, motorized bicycles, and motorized foot scooters within the city. That proposed ordinance can be seen in Exhibit 4A. This ordinance largely adopts state statute references into city code with only a few localized options. Of note, this ordinance would prohibit motorized bicycles and motorized foot scooters on trails within the city. The Traffic and Safety Committee met in August and voted to recommend council approve the proposed ordinance. And further along in your packet, just for your own clarity, I went ahead and provided you the definitions out of state statutes that are referenced in this ordinance. I'm not going to bore you by going through all of these, but hopefully you read through those if you had questions on them. With that, council is requested to consider a first reading of the proposed ordinance in Exhibit 4A.
Amy.
The difference between an e-bike and a motorized bike, is that easy to determine when you're looking at them? Or when you're watching them? And they both go almost the same speed?
Yeah, there's a number of them, and it can be challenging in some situations, especially if they get modified or something like that. Our goal with prohibiting motorized bicycles on trails but still allowing e-bikes was we didn't want to kick off anybody that's on an electric assisted e-bike or pedal assisted e-bike, something like that, where they might be going 10 miles an hour or something. Or they might be going slower than somebody who's just pedaling with their own power. So it should be fairly easy for a police department to determine that in most cases. What our PD said too was that they, in particular, would probably lean more on the safe operation required at the end of that ordinance there, which says no person shall operate any of those in a careless, reckless, or negligent manner. They said that was probably the easier way to enforce this ordinance, more so than getting into the nitty-gritty details on what each bike is designed for.
Because I got a complaint right before I came up here about kids through Chautauqua Park racing through there and going out on the docks and being in places even off the path, but there was toddlers around and safety concerns.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten a lot of feedback on this. But people would like to see speed limit signs of some sort, or I don't want to take away e-bikes from those people that really need them and are safe users, but there's also bikes that were racing through the disc golf course. So do we have anything that says where they can't go? Or is this just a path ordinance?
I would call this a path. I would anticipate that we'll likely make tweaks and changes moving forward. I'd call this a good start.
Okay.
A lot of the concerns that we hear are, people on, bicycles, but it's pretty obvious when they shouldn't be on trails because they don't even have the ability to pedal on them. Those belong on the street, not on a sidewalk or a trailer running through the park.
Amy, you have something?
Hey, will this allow you guys to enforce it a little bit more?
Yes.
That's what we're looking for, right?
There's some stuff covered in statute language, but this would definitely give us the ability to enforce it on our trails and
The mark for some e-bikes then?
So anyone under the age of 18 must wear a helmet, correct?
Yeah,
And
that's from
double
state statute.
riders. Okay. Yeah, that'll help a lot, I think, because it's just scary watching some of this stuff. I'm concerned somebody's really going to get hurt.
This ordinance is badly needed. I think the minimum age and helmets, requiring of the helmets, and then also however many people are on one vehicle. And I've seen as many as 3 multiple times, on one vehicle. Come down that street in front of me, and 3 on a scooter, And so, but I think, the enforcement's going to be a nightmare. But, if we can put some of these things and check on, what's the deal with bicycles on the streets? They're coming at you on the side of the road. Are they supposed to be going with the traffic or not? Because the other day there were 3 of them coming at me. They just kind of jolt you. So is that?
I think part of that is the unwritten rules, wheels with wheels. So if you're on a bike, you travel with traffic, or if you're on rollerblades, you travel with traffic. If you're walking, you'd be kind of against traffic. More of the problem that we see is large groups in some of our narrow streets, specifically around the lake, because everybody wants to be around the lake when they're on these, is like 3 or 4 wide and not moving for cars, is what we commonly see in the complaints that we feel. So, but
I think, yeah, you know.
need some help from parents. We really do. I think they buy these things and they don't really understand the rules and regulations with them themselves, and they just let their child go out with their buddies, and there's no checking up on them to seeing how they're riding them or what they're doing within the community. So that's another common complaint that we see.
Do we need to put up signage on the bicycle path in these areas about the new rules?
Possibly, it's something we'll think about and potentially implement if we can determine appropriate signage for that.
Is there a minimum age for a motorized bike or motorized scooter?
I don't believe so.
Scooters are 13. E-bikes are, depending on what, there's 3 different categories of e-bikes. There's 1, 2, and 3. I think the minimum is 15, 14, 15. I forget offhand.
15 years.
But another concern of ours is government reaction to these is very slow, as in all government. They keep changing these bikes and what's out there in the market, and now you're starting to see more of an increase of what's called e-motos in our community, which if you see those, they look like a dirt bike. They're very quick, they're very fast, they're very dangerous to kids that are operating on them, and actually by state statute, it requires them to be registered as a motorcycle. So that's a whole different category that we're talking about and that we're facing, other than scooters and e-bikes today. So that's another complication that we can deal with.
Would those type be already under ordinance that we have?
Yeah, this ordinance covers it because it has a maximum speed of 30 miles an hour. So depending on how much you spend, some of them can do 70 miles an hour. So they're just like a regular dirt bike, and they kind of look similar to a dirt bike. So
that we already have laws for that then.
It looks like there's some 5-year-olds driving some of the micro out in my neighborhood. I've seen it come through between Mark's and Ron's on the gravel and stuff. They're just going to get run over by a truck.
Those have statute language that cover those under the motorcycle statutes, not under the e-bikes.
Yeah, Mike.
So do you, with this ordinance, do you envision like violations, giving a warning first, then a ticket, or?
That's typically what we've been trying to do right now is educate the public, because there's such a wide variety of these that are out there that every time we stop and talk to somebody, they have no understanding of what classification of the bike that they have, what the regulations are with that. So we're trying, just like anything in town, if we get a new stop sign somewhere, the first thing that we always try to set out to do is educate the public, right? Let them know that it's there. We'll go out and monitor the area and then make contact and then remind them like, hey, this is new to the community, or this is the requirements on this. And then we slowly start to, after we do that for a while, then we start doing more warnings and into citations for those continuing.
So do you think, so a citation, would that go to the court system, go to a city attorney?
Yes.
To prosecute? Can this be just an admin fine? And just pay it to City Hall and make it simpler? Will it clog up?
Well, it falls under the city ordinances, just like any other city ordinance that we enforce, is a city fine, an administrative fine. That's typically where it starts. If we issue a state citation on a state statute, that's different. That's the state fines.
So this wouldn't necessarily go to the court system?
It potentially could, yes, depending if they refuse to pay it.
I was just thinking a little simpler.
What about underage kids? Like my son's 10 and he's got one and he uses it to go to practice quite a bit. So what happens to him?
We still have to enforce state statute, and now obviously if this is approved, city ordinance on that and what the age requirements are. So, again, we're doing our best to educate as much as we can. We've put out press releases, we've put out stuff on Facebook. We've talked to the school district to try and send information home to the parents, because this is all new, and it's not just Worthington. There's communities across our state that are dealing with the same issue. If you look at the news, they're having the same issues with classifications and regulations on that. And I get the convenience part for parents that, you know, if they're going to a baseball practice or soccer practice, that they can jump on one of these and go. But again, you know, we don't write the statute language. We just got to enforce it.
Fine for them or for the parents?
There would be a fine issued to the child, and go through the juvenile diversion program through the county attorney's office, which typically they give some grace for a first-time offender, but they also make it known to the parents that, you know, there's repercussions for violations, continued violations. A lot. And I've been trying to tell people, I'm really concerned, not just for our community, but for a lot of communities. Like, these things are dangerous, and unfortunately, you know, we hope not to see it, but my big concern is some kid's gonna get hurt very badly on one of these.
I've been quite a few near misses out there already.
A lot, almost daily.
Yep.
I'd make a motion to first.
Have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thanks, Nate. Okay, committee reports. I have nothing.
I'll report.
Amy?
The YMCA is having a Strong Communities corn roast on Sunday. Peter said Sunday, and once about Saturday and another, but I believe it's Sunday, August 16th. So there's a lot of free things out there for kids to enjoy, and membership opportunities, and there's some things for everybody, so.
Mike? Chris?
No report.
Steve?
Tomorrow we have a bonding rating call with S&P on our upcoming bond issuance. So we're putting that together and getting ready for that call. From the rating on our current financial conditions. Okay.
All right.
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Second. Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned.